Welcome back to yet another edition of the gnarliest stuff we could find. Back before I was able to regularly consume horror movies, I just assumed that all scary flicks had moments like these. The mind of a child could come up with some pretty gnarly stuff, especially when it seemed like horror was always the most taboo thing possible. Now that I've got years of perspective on my side, I realize that only in a truly special horror movie can a disturbing scene be properly pulled off. So here we go, the top 5 most disturbing scenes in horror movies, Part 4. Coming in at number 5, Frank's back from Hellraiser. Clive Barker is well known for the horrifying things that live in his mind. He's been the driving force behind countless classic horror moments from books to comics to movies and beyond. But the thing he'll likely be best remembered for has to be Hellraiser and all of the associated horrors. Cenobites are iconic. Pinhead is terrifying. The Lovecraftian creature chasing Kirsty through a hospital is nightmarish. But even amidst all of these incredible disturbing bits, there's a scene that really stands head and shoulders above the rest. While rooting around in the attic, Larry sheds a little blood, which seeps into the floor rather quickly. What Larry doesn't know is that his brother Frank was brutally tortured to the point of ceasing to exist on the material plane in that very spot. The meat hooks flying into Frank's skin are nasty for sure, but that's not the moment we're talking about. With Larry's blood on the floor, Frank now has the ability to reconstitute himself. And the way he does it has burned itself into the minds of many over the years. Good lord, this is a brutal resurrection. A lot of movies would opt to have this moment happen off screen, or maybe the undead individual just shows up via magic, but not Hellraiser. Frank's body is brought back to life one layer at a time. From a puddle of ooze rises a half-baked human skeleton, followed by muscles and ligaments finding their way onto the body. The result is a very incomplete, most definitely consumed by pain facsimile of the human form, and it needs blood. The technical aspect of this return alone is enough to cause queasiness in the most solid of stomachs. Practical effects are rarely used this effectively, with blood, guts, and gristle somehow rising from the hardwood and taking shape right before the audience's eyes. And of course, everyone knows that Frank's return can't be a good thing. His behavior after reconsolidating his physical form is truly evil, and his presence brings the Cenobites back to Earth to seek out his family. There's a lot of nasty, depraved stuff that goes on in Hellraiser, but the squishy, slimy, scream-inducing revival of Frank Cotton takes the cake when it comes to being disturbing. Coming in at number 4, we've got an amateur lung transplant from Excision. Body horror tends to elicit a more physical reaction than most scares. Slashers and ghost stories will make you look over your shoulder and might cause some folks to lose sleep, but nothing gets the skin crawling and the stomach churning like a good old-fashioned desecration of the human form. Excision takes this idea and runs with it, adding in all sorts of raunchy lovemaking and social faux pas to boot. If this movie doesn't make you want to curl up and die, I can't be certain that you're fully human. Throughout the movie, our main character Pauline proves time and time again that she's not the best at socializing. This would be all well and good if she didn't do so many things laser focused on making other people super uncomfortable. Pauline wants to be a surgeon, but she goes about this in a very odd way. She's obsessed with blood and mutilation and often dreams about this, waking up in near euphoric states. You can't blame her entirely though, as her mother is an overbearing presence with high hopes. Add in a little sister with cystic fibrosis, and there's a lot of pressure for Pauline to be the very best she can be, even with all her neuroses. Unfortunately, this leads her down a path of irresponsible sexual encounters, bloody endings, and fights with folks at school. Let's be real. There's an amorous scene in which Pauline decides to withhold the fact that she's menstruating and requests that her partner take a trip down south of the border. The blood-soaked result is quite disturbing, but this is not even the worst bit. The final 15 minutes of the movie show everyone how far gone Pauline truly is, and it's equal parts horrifying and tragic. She's just a kid with the weight of the world on her shoulders, but the actions she takes to feel as if she's making a difference are shiver-inducing to say the least. Spoilers ahead, naturally. After her sister's lung transplant gets pushed back, she decides to take matters into her own hands. She kidnaps and drugs both her sister and a girl who lives across the street and performs an impromptu lung transplant, replacing her sister's organs with the neighbor's. This doesn't work, but nobody will be able to convince Pauline of this fact. After discarding her siblings' original lungs, she's discovered by her mother, who cannot handle what's happened. Only then, with her sister dead and her mother in hysterics, does she begin to realize the weight of her actions. Goodness gracious, this one is heavy. Coming in at number 3, we've got shunting from Society. We sure do live in a society, hey folks. Even if Zack Snyder decides to cut that bit from his version of Justice League, we can always return to the nasty Brian Yuzna classic. After spending a great deal of time trying to figure out the truth behind his elite high society family, Bill Whitney discovers a terrible secret. At first, he assumed that his family was doing some eyes wide shut type stuff, which, while upsetting, wouldn't be that insane for a bunch of insanely rich people. Unfortunately for him, it turns out that his family isn't even human. They're alien creatures, hell-bent on slurping up the nutrients from humans. But they don't just stick a high-tech straw in their prey and go to town. They have to begin shunting. Well, what's shunting? It's a process by which all the members of this so-called society meld together into horrible fleshy masses and proceed to absorb energy and participate in weird alien orgies. Words cannot do justice to the despicable, oozy, flesh-filled forms created during shunting. So here, watch a clip. Go on, it's good for you. Coming in at number 2, we've got Scissors Where the Sun Don't Shine from Antichrist. Lars von Trier loves to push the envelope. Every movie he puts out is controversial in one way or another. Often this means that there's going to be some disturbing subject matter at hand. Antichrist is a primetime example of this, with violent, upsetting, and downright raunchy moments woven in throughout to ensure that the audience is never quite safe from being disturbed. Lots and lots of messed up happens in Antichrist, right from the very beginning. It's not a movie for the faint of heart. But if you can make it through the initial barrage of intense emotion and then stomach stuff like deer stillbirth, cinder blocks to the crotch, ejaculating blood, and a hole drilled through a leg, you might, just might, be ready for what happens next. But really, you're probably not. After a series of violent attacks upon her husband, the woman decides to take a pair of scissors and snip a particularly sensitive bundle of nerves between her legs. The idea of someone doing something like that is horrible to begin with, but the camera does not shy away during this self-inflicted surgery. The audience gets to watch as this piece of the woman is cut away, and it is not pleasant. Good luck for getting that image. And finally at number 1, Involuntary Contortionism from Suspiria, 2018. For a true cacophony of sounds and sights that will make you regret waking up that day, check out the most painful dance sequence probably ever put to film. The secret is out. Marcos Dance Academy is full of witches, and they're looking for some worthy sacrifices. Poor Olga decides to call out the matrons after her friend disappears, making them very cross with her. As Susie Banyan performs a dance, she unknowingly causes Olga harm. Olga, alone in a practice room full of mirrors, is tossed around by every move Susie makes. She's crashed up against walls, moves her body in unnatural ways, and feels her bones snap for seemingly no reason. But through all of this, Olga continues to dance. Not necessarily by her own power though. As she leaps and twirls upon broken bones and stretched skin, she screams and wails. Her body bruises, her face is pulled into awful shapes, and her limbs dangle helplessly as the deadly dance continues. Susie wraps up her dance, and Olga is left twisted on the floor in a heap. Yowza. If you're feeling a little lightheaded after all that, don't you worry. That is a perfectly natural response to intense human suffering. And if you're totally unfazed, maybe take a break from horror. You know, nothing major, just like a week where you watch like some Studio Ghibli or something. Give that brain a nice day off, refresh the synapses and the nerves. It'll be good for you. So what'd you think of the list? Did I pick some good ones? Or do you have a list of all the crazy stuff I've missed? Make sure you let me know down in the comments. Speaking of comments, let's take a look at some of your more peaceful ones from the top 5 scariest real-life curses. Cobra Raptor says, hope we don't get cursed watching this video. It's too late, the deed is done. Enjoy your curse. Charles Snow says, at least you can somewhat avoid cursed items. Being born cursed is the worst. Charles, is there something you wanted to tell us? Were you born cursed? Sharky Apex says, 1 minute gang, or is it 1 minute gang? Do you mean you're here at 1 minute, or there's a very small throng of gangsters running about? Marigan Beltran says, I've seen so many cursed videos that I should be dead by now. Well, might as well keep going, right? You're bound to find a really effective one sooner or later. And Sunny Muffin says, the curse in my family is that anyone named Paul will die before they're 19. All the Pauls in my family died before they turned 19. So I guess that's a curse. And that is absolutely appalling. I'm sorry. And that's all the time we have for today. I'm going to run drugs to support my grandmother instead of experiencing the epic highs and lows of high school football. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Facsimile, oh my gosh. Let's be real, there's an amorous, as Susie Banyan performs a dance for Madame Blanc. It'll be a good one. It'll be good for you. I don't know what I'm doing here. I don't know. We'll see how that shows up on video. Did I pick some good ones, or did you have the Charles Snow says? That's not what Charles Snow says. Sharpie Ape Akex.